Test 1, 2. I'd like to call the meeting of the Northern Lee High School District School Board to order. May we stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Okay. As we have been doing, this meeting will be conducted under the civility and decorum. District officials and members of the public are expected to conduct themselves with civility and to afford each other a measure of dignity and respect. Shouting, personal insults, and attacks, or any other conduct that disrupts the flow of the business is to be considered out of order. Members of the public are to direct their comments to the board in its entirety. Do not single out a board member for responses, nor can a member of the public specifically issues to other board members or other members of the community who may be present or not present at the meeting, or who virtually are here present, and if it's a virtual or in a virtual or hybrid meeting. In addition, members of the community shall not bring signs, place cards to the meeting, and shall not applaud or engage in any other actions that would impede another community member of their rights to make comments at this meeting. It is the discretion of the board president and individuals who are disruptive shall be subject to be removal from the venue of the board meeting unless the disruption individual agrees to maintain civility and decorum. Any questions?
Roll call. We missed roll call.
I'm sorry.
Letter D, we got to do roll call, sir.
Oh, yes, we got to do that. All right. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Disler?
Here.
Mr. Green? Here. Ms. Heckman? Here. Ms. Husak? Here. Mr. Keegan?
Here.
Mr. Kern?
Here.
Ms. Culp? Here. Ms. Martineau? Here. Mr. Fedorcha?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Also, as board policy 903, all participants will be provided with a period of 5 minutes for each public participation. Public comment on the agenda will be recognized now. Public comment not on the agenda will be recognized at the end of the meeting. Do we have public comment?
Looks like we have Mrs. Natalie Snyder for public comment on agenda items.
Okay, I have concerns about the attachments that are being listed on the board agenda. I'm gonna have to do something to stop fogging my glasses up here. But there,
Do you have a microphone for the podium?
there's no microphone here?
There's not.
Okay, so I did address this with Mr. Link, and he said he would address this to the board, that when you guys put out the board agenda, there's never any attachments with the board agenda. So we kind of really don't know some of the areas that are being voted on, that are being addressed at the board meetings, like particularly the committee meetings. When they were public, we could see what had occurred at the committee meeting, but now we really don't have anything. I can't even see minutes, and I wasn't able to attend the Wednesday one, so I was kind of left in the dark as to what happened there. So hopefully you guys can come up with a recommendation to include that in the board agenda. As far as the conferences, I have a little bit of concern of the PDE SAS Institute. I'm questioning why we are sending, I guess it's Mr. Pine, to attend in person when it can be offered virtually. I mean, there's a cost savings of $512. If he were to just attend virtually, it would only be $150. So what is the purpose of him going there physically to be housed in a hotel, having meals provided, transportation costs? What is the benefit to to this meeting as well, this conference. My feelings in regards to this conference, I feel that has an emphasis on equity and inclusion, which most people know to be considered critical race theory in disguise. If the board is to consider approving the cost for Mr. Pine to attend this conference, before you vote to approve it, please do your research on critical race theory so you can fully understand how you are voting to use taxpayer dollars to fund something that so many people disapprove of. My other item was the textbooks, which thank you, Mr. Link, for finally sending me the link to that. I didn't really get a chance to fully review it, but I did briefly look at it. I just wanted to ask a few questions in regards to the purchase of these books at the cost of $6,878.50. A few questions to ask before you vote to approve this purchase is, why are we not purchasing new textbooks for the high school Spanish classroom that are currently just using handouts for their educational material? Since we have had the high school Spanish 1 for several years now, doesn't it seem more beneficial to equip that classroom with necessary materials first before equipping a new program that may be removed sometime down the road? Is there possibly a textbook that can be shared between Spanish 1 and Intro to Spanish, and how does Spanish 1 differ from Intro to Spanish? Another item was the appointment of Brad Jones. I am not sure if the board is aware that Brad Jones has a history of being verbally abusive to the girls on the basketball team, and many girls have quit. So I question as to why we are not considering other people for hire when there were definitely other applicants. And then my last one will be for the end of the evening.
Thank you very much. Next.
Mr. Chad Christmas.
Mr. Chrisman?
Evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, sir.
I keep the first couple of comments and questions strictly tied to agenda items. I'll have more later. In here, one of my biggest concerns is again, this is not a personal attack. We recently hired a new food service director at $68,000. But right now, currently, we're serving our children Domino's and Subway up to 4 times a week. Is there a short-term, long-term solution to this to get something a little bit more nutritional in our schools? Maybe in elementary school, a child can thrive off of one slice of pizza, but we got teenagers in here that are growing like a weed. You give them a slice of pizza and they're looking at you like they're lost. That's my biggest gripe on the agenda, is making sure we have some kind of short-term, long-term solution. I would really like to hear it before we're dismissed tonight of what you guys have planned in motion for that moving forward. And I have other things, but they're not agenda related, so I'll wait till the end.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, please.
And those were the only two for agenda items.
Okay. Okay, that completes the public questions for the agenda items. I will recognize other people at the end of the meeting for those items that you have signed up to deliver. Now, the review of the minutes, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes of October 11th. Do I have a motion to do so? I'm assuming that's a second also? Second. Okay. Any questions or changes? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Special board reports. Corbin Lehigh Intermediate. Mrs. Huzak.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. We did have our meeting, what month are we in? November, in October. We are also going through similar things as most of our districts are, staffing shortages, bus shortages, things like that. So they are getting creative, just like all of us are here at our district level, to make sure that we continue to service our students, keep our students in person, and keep educating them for things that we want to educate them on. I was asked to be the liaison for our PSBA delegate access meeting, which was held virtually on October 23rd. It was a Saturday. It was 2 hours long. It was for all school districts in the state of Pennsylvania, and part of what that was to provide information specifically around PSBA for treasurer's reports and what is coming up in the legislation and legislative reports moving forward that PSBA and our legislators will be looking at. So I'll read a couple things from the meeting. Again, it was roughly a 2-hour meeting. There's a recording and some information on the PSBA website. You're welcome to go out to take a look at it. It was the treasurer's report for PSBA was read and introduced by Michael Gossard, who is the PSBA treasurer. He provided information in regards to the statement of activities. Overall, the net income was down last year to the missing of conferences and grants, which were mainly due to the COVID pandemic. School leadership conferences continued to be PSBA's most successful annual events for both members and vendors. Again, this year, the conference did remain virtual, which decreased the amount of exhibitors. However, member and policy service revenue still remains steady. PSBA updated its 200 series for online learning classes, and it's the leading training provider in the state for our Act 55 compliance. PSBA holds webinars and roundtable discussions with current board members, legislative leaders, and industry experts throughout the year. The PSBA partnership program continues to grow with the development of new alliance models, and the Bulletin magazine that transitioned electronically last year will now revert back to being in print production for the current 21-22 fiscal year. Starting in fiscal year 2019, PSBA started exploring the process of a complete associate management software program. They are anticipating a cost for this project to be $1 to $2 million. They're currently vetting vendors for the project and hope to have the completely new AMS system launching in 2023. We also voted as a school district, as well as our IUs and technical institutes, for some of the president-elects and vice presidents of PSBA. Here are some of the election results which were presented during that board meeting. President-elect is David Shop from the Brentwood Borough School District. Vice President Allison Mathis from North Skill School District. East Zone representative is Edward Brown from Upper Darby. The Section 7 advisor, Justin Warren from Central Dauphin School District. The PSBA Insurance Trust trustee, Dr. Richard Frakes, William Lakoff, and Nathan Maines. And then the SBS Forum Steering Committee, Jennifer Davidson from Manheim Township School District, Beth Ann Ziegler from Shikellamy School District, and Jamie Lynn Zimmerowski from Schuylkill IU 29. The last portion of what we had some input on was specific around the proposed legislative platforms for the 2022 calendar year. These are listed again on the PSBA website once it's all approved from the delegate meeting. There were 3 core principles that were discussed with language changes, topics listed in them, things that we voted on how that legislation will be passed and looked at throughout the 2022 year. The first core principle is to support an effective child-centered public education, which deals with curriculum and instructional policy, student assessments including graduation requirements, special education, career and technical education, and strategies for our struggling schools. Core principle 2 was around strengthening the work of local school boards, which includes personnel issues, staffing, evaluations, collective bargaining, pension funding. And then the core principle 3, which supports to support for increased equity and accountability, includes charter school reform, funding formula, uses of local taxes, and property tax issues. There is more in each of those core principles. They are listed once they get posted on the PSBA website. Recommend you guys go look at them. There are legislation, people who are out there who are legislation will push for changes. So if you have questions around some of those, it is going to our local legislation to help us get what we're looking for. And that's all I have this evening.
Any questions? Thank you. Lehigh Career and Technical Institute, we did have a meeting in October. I'm happy to say that right now, we've been going through a period of classes being taken away and put onto virtual because of COVID. Right now, we're back to full capacity and full learning, and I'm very happy about that. We are not going to have a board meeting in November. It is always a meeting of the whole, which we will be presented the budget, and we will also be presented the auditor's report. So that is that November meeting. We will then come back in December with a regular board meeting. Other than that, one of the things that has been decided is that we will, once again this year, have not a graduation, because we always do a senior awards program for our seniors who are going out. We will be having one, not virtually this year. It will be in person, unless something happens dramatically with everything else. But right now, we're looking back to doing that. Unfortunately, because of the timing and so forth, we will not be able to do an open house in person. So we will go back to the virtual. If you're interested in seeing that, please go on the LCTI line and website, and you will be able to tune in and hear it. It'll be on for about 4 nights during that week that we would be having our open house. And that ends my report. Anybody have any questions? Okay, moving on then, legislative.
Thank you.
Mrs. Heckman?
So on November 12th, a lawsuit that started in 2014 is finally going to see its day in court. It's something that school districts have been watching for obviously 7 years, longer. It's 2021. 6 districts sued Governor Corbett, so this is quite a long time ago, over the basic school funding, saying that it's unconstitutional and it doesn't provide, I don't know the exact lingo, but equal education, because education is based on, or the school funding formula is based so much on property tax. So obviously, districts with a better tax base are going to provide a higher dollar amount per student than districts with a lower tax base, right? So we're finally here, November 12th, it's going to trial. 6 districts, one of which is our neighbor, Panther Valley. You can actually live stream the trial if you are that interested, as I think maybe some of us are. So this is something we'll be following closely because the outcome of this could obviously, it could change education in Pennsylvania. So we're excited / nervous about that. This afternoon, Governor Wolf announced that he would possibly be lifting the mask mandate on January 17th. There's no information except what I just said. So we'll hope for the best, keep looking for more information and more guidance, and as with everything, more to come. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions from the second? Hearing none. LCTI, Mr. Green?
Thank you. I've been kind of quiet for a while and haven't said much, and I think I have to go on a little tirade tonight. And we also had some legal information given to us at our last meeting. That was our speaker. And the first thing that came up that kind of concerned me was if the president's tuition reimbursement plan goes into effect, how will that affect LCTI? And essentially what they said was, whatever you're charging tuition now, the federal government will reimburse you. Unfortunately, at LCTI, of all the community colleges in the state, we have the second lowest tuition rate, which means we'll wind up getting a lot less money than everybody else. And because we've done a good job in holding the costs down, now we're going to wind up paying for that through that. So where's the money going to come from? We're looking at 5-6% inflation. The state for 4 years now has put no extra money in community colleges. They put no money in capital improvements. So there's nothing coming from the state. The federal could possibly be fixed. Where else do they go? they're gonna come back to the local school districts, and it's gonna be the property owners of the district who are gonna be forced to pick up the cost of that, quote, tuition reimbursement, that free tuition. And, I don't think you're gonna have to make $450,000 to be involved in that, you just have to own a property. And so that's a little concerning to me. The next thing, there was big excitement in Harrisburg because they're opening another community college in Erie County. Hooray, we're opening another college. So there's a big bureaucracy in Harrisburg who's all excited about opening this college. Great. But then at the same time, they're reporting that the SHE system has had such a declining enrollment that they're going to close or consolidate 6 SHE school systems, state higher education. So on one hand, we have a big bureaucracy who's all excited about opening a community college, another one who's all excited because we're closing SHE system schools, and maybe we should just get rid of all of them. I don't know. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. I don't know where we're gonna come up with the money with the inflation that's going on, and that's concerning. And don't even get me started on ESSER funds, because we'll be here till 9 o'clock, but that's another subject for another time. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Green? Committee reports, they are in your packet for you to your perusal. We will move on then to our student representatives, Ms. Craddock and Ms. Doherty.
Hello, everyone. Tonight I'm going to start by giving our sports report. As we wrap up our fall seasons, it's super exciting and important to recognize our fall sports teams this year. Our awards night for fall athletes was on November 3rd, and it was at the stadium. It was a little chilly, but it was still a nice time. The field hockey, cross country, football, cheerleading, girls soccer, and boys soccer teams presented awards for outstanding players, reported on their seasons, and recognized their seniors. Paige was a senior for our girls soccer, so it was nice to see her presented with her senior award. After the ceremony at the stadium, each sport moved to their areas and presented pins and varsity letters. So, like, I got my pin for my junior year playing soccer. For the fall sports, we had our major award winners. We had outstanding cross-country runners were Jared Thomason and Emma Smith. For outstanding field hockey players, we had Zoe Hathaway and Olivia Horninger. For outstanding girls soccer, we had Caitlin Kirk and Sophia Lear. And for outstanding boys soccer players, we had Bryce Lapinto and Ethan Kunkel. Football awards will be decided at the conclusion of their season. And speaking of football, they won Saturday in the District 11 playoffs 43-14 over Minersville. This Saturday, they will play in the District 11 2A championship game versus Palmerton at Lehighton at noon. Paige and I both play soccer, and we made it to district semifinals last week. Unfortunately, we lost that game 1-0. It was a heartbreaking game. It was sad for everyone, especially the seniors. We still had fun playing and are excited for how far we got this year. And that pretty much wraps up the fall season. So we have winter sports starting Friday, November 19th, which is boys and girls basketball and wrestling. Any questions on the sports report? I'll pass it over to Paige then.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start off with homecoming. So, as everyone knows, our dance was canceled, which was really unfortunate. But we still had a great pep rally, which I think was a complete success, considering that we did it outside this year. So I think we're trying to consider maybe doing that more in the future. Everyone was kind of like a little more, like, just excited because, you know, we didn't have to wear masks, and it was just, overall, it was a nice experience. Along with that, we had our Spirit Week, so we gave out awards for that. And the parade, that also went very, very nice, very smooth. I also want to congratulate the football team for their success in winning 63-30 against Penarville. Right? I'm sorry. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in the future. Student Council, we held our fall blood drive on November 21st at High School Gym, which had a very nice turnout. It was nice that we had it inside again. So we also had Senior Dress Up Day, which was October 29th. Student Council provided prizes for like best female costume and group costume. We had a lot more participation, which probably had to do with everyone actually being able to be in school. I myself was a sumo wrestler. It's pretty cool. Patriot Club will be hosting Spirit Day on November 11th in honor of Veterans Day. Our high school students have been asked to wear red, white, and blue camo to honor veterans. Northern High Theater will be presenting All Together Now, which is a collection of Broadway songs. I am not sure if they are streaming that online. I will get back to you on next report to let you know if they're doing that. Along with that, that is happening November 12th at 7 p.m., excuse me, and on Sunday, November 14th at 2 p.m. Another student council thing, we're doing Adopt a Family and Toys for Tots. Our committees will be meeting soon to prepare for those, because that usually happens around Christmas time. Boxes for Toys for Tots will be located around the school. And then Adopt a Family is usually something like the teachers do. So years in the past, we've been having difficulty getting teachers. So especially with everything that's going on with COVID, we'd really appreciate if teachers could step up and help Adopt a Family, because a lot of people are in really need. American Education Week will be occurring November 15th and the 19th. Student Council will be giving out thank you cards to high school teachers to show our appreciation for them. So thank you guys for everything that you guys do. Powder Puff game will be November 18th, and the first set will begin at 4. I think it goes to 4:50. They're pretty short. The freshman girls will be playing the juniors, sophomores will be playing the seniors, and the championship game will be between whatever two win. As of right now, every class is participating, which is really nice, and the games are in honor of the veterans. So each class will be representing a different branch. I know the seniors are doing Navy. I'm not sure what everyone else is doing. Student Council will be hosting a Spirit Day on November 19th. The theme for that has not been decided. And that is all I have. I'm sorry, that was a mouthful. Anybody have any questions?
Paige?
Yeah.
What day was the red, white, and blue or camo day?
That is November 11th.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
Anyone have questions?
No, I just think it's.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige and
Oh,
Danielle.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask, may Danielle and I be excused? We have some schoolwork to I'm not lying, I promise.
Of course, and thank you for the informative update, both of you.
Yeah, thank you.
so much.
Good night, girls.
Good night.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
We shall move on to our solicitor's report.
Can, I don't know the exact region. I think our marching band won the championship for Region 2.
That is correct.
I just wanted to
Yep.
add that, just
the,
a bulldog toot.
Tournament of bands. That's correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
Tournament of the Bands.
Tournament of
right.
bands, and they were the highest scoring for all size classes. So again, and I believe it was the 4th consecutive time that they received such an honor. Exactly.
Solicitor's report, Attorney Roddick.
Yes, just wanted to let the board know that the Professional Standards and Practices Commissions, they made proposed changes to the Code of Professional Practice and Conduct that governs educators. And some of the amendments include adding standards addressing appropriate boundaries and inappropriate communications, including inappropriate communications via electronic means. The amendments also add or expand standards for addressing misrepresentation and document fraud.
Any questions for our solicitor? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on then, we have Assistant Superintendent's report. I know Dr. Stoker is not here. Mr. Lake, anything at all?
There is no Assistant Superintendent report this evening.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our Business Manager's report, Mrs. Molitaris or Mrs. Franz?
Yes, Dr. Stoker asked me if I could give the update on the ESSER grant spending this month that she provides to the board every month. So there is a packet at your seat. This is where we stand as of October 31st. Again, as we've been saying all along, ESSER 1 monies, we originally received $324,000 in that grant, and that grant is totally expended. ESSER 2 currently, our allocation was $1.458 million. We have spent to date $371,000 of that, giving us a subtotal of a little over $1,086,000 left to spend there. We have encumbrances, actual purchase orders sitting out there of items that we have not received yet for $341,000, with a remaining balance of $745,387 not spent. But we do have that earmarked with a spending list We discussed some of those spending at our committee meeting, Buildings and Grounds, with that, the middle school kitchen eating up probably a good 96% of that money that is in there. So that money is what's remained as undetermined is zero. That money will be spent once we finish everything up that we have earmarked and planned for that money. ESSER 3 on the other end, that is 2.9 million. 590,000 of that has to be earmarked for learning loss, which is our summer school program that happened last summer and will continue for the next 3 years. To date, spent out of this grant is $431,000. Subtotal still remaining to spend is 2.5 million. Of that 2.5 million, we have nothing encumbered at this time because most of the spending list, that is the 2.1 million, are for professional positions, that summer learning program. So it's things that are not tangible that we have purchase orders for. So, remaining left in this grant that we have not spent and nothing is earmarked for now is $398,000. So that is an undetermined money at this point in time where we're still just holding out, not sure what we're going to use that money on. And then if the last page is, we originally had an announcement that they had an ESSER 3 second allocation. That allocation for us was $229,000. But that money is really stringent on what we can use it for. It has to be so much set aside for learning loss, 1% set aside for after-school programs, and 1% set aside for summer enrichment. So we are currently working on how we're spending that money determined in these classifications. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay.
All right, so we completed our 2020-2021 final audit, happened the end of October. We received our numbers back the other day. On the board agenda this evening is allocation for fund balance. As we said, approached the board, and I talked to the board at Finance Committee meeting about, is that our money that we realized and we're putting back into fund balance this year, we are earmarking some of that money for our debt service bond payments that are due to come back and start being paid during the 22-23 school year. So hopefully some of this money that we recoup this year will be able to be used to offset those costs, because moving forward, we're looking at about $3.2 million a year over the next about 8 years that we're going to have to pay for bond payments. And that's it for the business office.
Any questions on the audit? Seeing none, moving on then to Mr. Link and the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Fedorcha. I'm going to begin my report this evening by turning some time over to Mr. William Smeltzer, who is here from the PSBA, and he's going to present two of our school board members with some years of achievement acknowledgements. Mr. Smeltzer?
Thanks, Mr. Link. Good evening, everyone. My name is Will Smeltzer, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association to honor two school board directors for their years of dedication and service to the Northern Lehigh School District. School board service has long been a crucial part of our nation's legacy and its commitment to public education. As the first school boards association in the United States, PSBA has a rich history with more than 125 years of service. The consummate school directors are described as ethical, principled individuals with a deep desire to serve. They believe in the value of our public schools and local control of public education for the benefit of all students. Today, school districts are expected to offer more services along with world-class instruction with limited resources. These expectations provide a tremendous challenge for school directors who are unpaid volunteers who give up their time to contribute to the schools and communities they serve. Schools' continued efforts to provide high-quality, continuous education to all students during the pandemic further highlights the key role school directors play in educating our children. For more than 35 years, PSBA has been recognizing the contributions of dedicated local school directors with long-term service. The honor roll is the association's way of thanking those individuals who exemplify leadership by giving unselfishly of their time and talents for the betterment of the public schools serving students across this great Commonwealth. All right, now the time you've been waiting for. It gives me immense pleasure to recognize Mr. Robert Keegan for his 8 years of service and Mr. Matthias Green for his 44 years of service. Gentlemen, please come up and accept the awards.
So Mr. Hill's going to take some pictures as well, so if you could just maybe linger up there for a moment.
You want us together?
You want us
Sure.
Yeah, and let's just, Mr. Green, 44 years. Close to 50% of school directors serve one 4-year term. So 44 years, you get a nice plaque like this. Guys, let's hear it one more time. Let's hear it one more time.
It looks like he got a bigger one than me.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. One more, 1, 2, 3. All right.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to both of you.
Yes.
You got a big one, I only came.
This is so that doesn't break.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smeltzer. Thank you. And again, congratulations, Mr. Keegan and Mr. Green. Up next, I'm happy to welcome back Mrs. Rachel Strucco to Northern Lehigh School District. Mrs. Strucco presented at our Education Policy Committee meeting last week on the SHINE program offered by Lehigh Carbon Community College. And we decided that we would like to have her share some information with the entire school board, because tonight on the agenda is an item to approve a summer camp offering through the SHINE program.
Perfect. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it. And I see you all have the one-pager already, so I'm just going to go over some key specifics about the proposal. So in October, Lehigh Carbon Community College did submit for a $20,000 proposal for a Lehigh County COVID-19 relief nonprofit block grant. We chose to write that grant specifically with Northern Lehigh because of the wonderful partnership we already have with the district. We really wanted to model the 2-week summer camp over after our existing SHINE program that we have in Carbon and Schuylkill counties. The project was developed with the Northern Lehigh School District of choice. If the grant is approved, the camps will support students' educational progress by addressing the learning gaps directly attributed to COVID-19. The camps will be operated at no cost to the Northern Lehigh School District. The camps will provide 2-week camps at both Peters and the Slatington Elementary School. Based on the proposal with the adequate grant funding, Peters will serve 25 students 1st to 2nd, and then Slatington Camp will host 30 students in 4th and 5th grade. The camps were planned to run Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 2. We will provide transportation from the house and then back to their homes as well. At the end of the day, we will also provide breakfast and lunch, meeting the federal nutrition guidelines. And then obviously the programming, which is the most important, will be grant appropriate instruction with targeting ELA as well as math concepts, utilizing our inquiry-based STEM curriculum. And then the last Friday of the week, we will take all the students to our brand new makerspace on main campus, which we're currently developing, and we'll do a whole college experience today with our professors and our SHINE teachers, just giving them a hands-on experience at our institution to walk around and see what college life is really like. So we're super excited about this partnership, and I really hope this, obviously I think we're obviously going to get the funding, so I hope we support, everybody is supporting the program. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Any board members have questions?
No, thank you for choosing Northern Lehigh.
Yes, you're a wonderful district, very innovative. I'm excited. Your administration is wonderful. Your superintendent is wonderful. So I'm excited to work with the community, and I know El Tracy is excited as well.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mrs.
guys.
Strucker.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank
You as
you.
well. I would just like to add that if the camp goes well, this could be an opportunity to expand into a after-school program moving into next school year and beyond for our students. Again, hopefully we can partner with LCTI to make that after-school program also available to our students in the elementary buildings at no cost. So, thank you, Mrs. Strucco. Have a good night. Okay, as Danielle and Paige had mentioned earlier in their student reports, there are, this upcoming week is the American Education Week from November 15th through the 19th. The board and administration is so very appreciative of the work and dedication put forth by all of our employees, be it our school teachers, our counselors, our nurses, our paraeducators, food services department, our school police officers. Everybody truly works together to support our students. So next week, we will be offering some small tokens of appreciation being sent to the buildings for our employees. Again, thank you to all of our employees for everything you do, not only during this week, but every day throughout the school year and well into the summer. Up next, I'd like to acknowledge Lehigh Valley Educators Credit Union. They have donated $3,000 to support our Backpack Buddies program. They continue to be a generous donor to our Backpack Buddies program for multiple years now. Moving on, the Lehigh Carbon Community College, LCTI, truly are great partners. Again, they have donated 5 microscopes to our high school science department, and they have also donated furniture to Peters Elementary from their early intervention program. So we are appreciative of the generosity of LCTI back to Northern Lehigh School District. Also, an anonymous donor has donated $200 towards water bottles for NLSD students. This is the amount necessary above and beyond the allocated ESSER funds for the bottles. We are now able to receive the proof of paperwork, so that's the specs that they're going to send us, with our branding on it from a vendor for the bottles, and we hope to process that purchase order next week. Every student in the district will receive a water bottle to use in our water bottle refilling stations. Another anonymous donor has donated 85 pounds of turkey for the Thanksgiving meals for our students. The turkeys are coming from our local farms, Jandal Farms. So we have, and I'm looking to Mrs. Bonnick and Mrs. Fink. That should be enough for all the lunches for our students, correct?
We were able to get so much, but we were short that amount. We had somebody donate that amount to the district.
All right, so they were able to close the turkey gap. Excellent. Very much appreciated. As mentioned earlier by Director Heckman, today at about approximately 2 p.m., we received notice from Secretary of Education Noe Ortega that it is anticipated that on January 17th, 2020, the Commonwealth K-12 masking requirements will return to local control. Additionally, clarifying guidance, including FAQs, will be provided in the next few weeks from the Department of Education. So we look forward to reviewing that guidance when it's released over the next couple weeks. Up next, I'm happy to announce that NLSD will host a vaccination clinic in partnership with Bechtel's Pharmacy on Tuesday, November 16th, 2021, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Northern Lehigh Middle School. The clinic will be held for students ages 5 to 11 years old. Students 12 and older should contact, or their parents and guardians should contact Bechtel's Pharmacy directly to schedule an appointment to receive a vaccination if they so desire at the pharmacy in Slatington. And that concludes my report for, oh, no, it does not. Almost. I'd also like to announce that the holiday dinner will be hosted on December 6, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the middle school annex for the board directors. and administrators, and also like to extend invitation to our school board solicitor. And that will be prior to the board reorganization meeting, which will be held at 6:40 PM, also on December 6th. And then following that, at approximately 7 PM, will be our regular school board meeting. As a reminder, there are no committee meetings in December. So our next committee meetings will occur in January. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Link? Hearing none. We did have an executive session this evening for personnel and legal. Speaking of personnel, I will now move into the agenda items of personnel. I will accept a motion to approve the personnel items A through G. A through G. Do I have a motion to do so?
Mr. Fidarcha?
Yes?
I'm a little concerned about F. They mentioned that there were allegations with Bradford Jones verbally abusing the girls.
Okay.
Can we-
Can I do, would you do me a favor though first? So that we can discuss it, I need a motion first. Will you make a motion to approve
To approve
A through G?
A through G. I don't want to approve F.
I understand that, and we can deal with that.
Okay.
But my point is, before we can discuss anything, I need a motion and a second to open
Okay.
up discussion.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Well, she needs to approve first.
I'll second.
Thank you, Attorney Robbins.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Okay, now we can get into discussion. Now I will turn to you, Mrs. Morgan.
I don't remember who brought it up, but I'm concerned if there are outstanding allegations. Are there records of those complaints anywhere?
Before we discuss a particular individual, I'm going to look to our
I
solicitor
was
to
just
see
going to say, I
if we
think
can.
that
Yeah, I don't think we can
Then
do
can we
that.
can't-
hold it off then?
you can table that item.
You can remove that if you'd like,
Correct.
as long as the board then agreed to that. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
If they do, I would like to move the table until,
You would like to modify in removal of F from the agenda?
Right.
just until we can investigate
Okay.
what was brought to our attention this evening.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I would recommend that we do not remove all of F. If you're going to choose to remove, I would recommend that you remove just a name.
Okay? Then I
Otherwise-
move to, I move to
Okay, you'll amend the motion to
re-
remove
remove
a name
F-
from F.
A.
Okay. Okay. Do I have a second to that?
Clarification, Mr. President, I'm sorry, it's hard to hear down here, Dan, when you
Sure.
get this old, but
I'm sorry.
the motion was to amend the motion to remove item F in its entirety, is that
F.A.
correct? No?
FA, the first one.
F1, the first name under F.
Correct.
Okay,
That's correct, sir.
all right, thank you.
Okay?
So we need-
It's been moved and seconded to do
We need
so?
a second.
We need a
No.
second.
We need a second.
We need a second. I thought we had a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's been moved by Mrs. Martineau. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we do have a second. So we understand that we will be moving the items A through G with the exception of F1.
And before you call roll call, I would request that our athletic director please describe to us then the timelines for moving forward.
At this point, since there is a particular individual that you're gonna remove, on November 19th is the opening of our winter sports. So at that point, depending on how the board wants to act, we can move forward and then work with the HR department and get clearance on any type of personnel maneuvers. But November 19th is the start of our winter season. Is that sufficient, Mr. Lynn?
Or is there anyone else available on staff that could move into that position?
On staff, I'm not aware of anybody on staff at this particular point, but there are possibilities of people that I need to approach if that is a particular way that the board wants me to go. Does that make sense?
Can I, and I'll look to the solicitor with my remarks here. In doing so, we will not be violating anyone's personal, I'm not quite sure how I want to address this. I'll turn it over to you as far as if you get the gist. If we're going to remove somebody and not hire them, we would need a just cause for doing so. Am I correct?
Well,
Technically.
Technically, but at this point, we're not even there yet. At this
Right,
point,
right,
the only thing that's on the table is to
right,
remove the vote on him.
correct, okay.
And then we can discuss.
We can go from there. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Geis. Any questions for Mr. Geis? Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, so we will now vote on the main motion with the removal of F1.
Don't we need to approve that amendment before we vote on it?
I thought we did.
We need to do a roll call.
Okay.
And have two people decide that it's gonna happen. I think that makes
Okay, it's, okay. Right now, what we have is we have the, a motion to amend the motion to remove F1. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Seeing that, now amended to the new motion, or the original motion with the exception of F1, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Does that end that now? Okay. Moving on to policy, I will accept a motion to approve the policy items A and B. A and B. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions on the policies? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Conferences, I will accept a motion to approve the conferences 1, 2, 3. 1 through 3. Do I have a motion to do so? Do I have a second? Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Curriculum and instruction. I will accept a motion to approve the curriculum instruction items 1 through 6. 1 through 6. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions on curriculum? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Is there any old business? Anyone? Moving on to new business, I will accept a motion to approve the new business items A through D. A through D. Do I have a motion to do so? Do I have a second? Questions on the new business items? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. I will accept a motion to approve the legal items.
Financial. Yeah, financial items.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to come back to financial items. I will accept a motion to approve the financial items A through K. A through K. Do I have a motion to do so?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Now into legal. Do I have a motion to approve the legal items? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions on the legal items? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Is there any correspondence? No, it's okay.
Yes.
I think that would
Well,
be
no.
during recognition of guests.
Recommendation,
Yep.
yes, so no.
No,
correspondence.
all right, thank you very much. Information items for you, there are the minutes of the Corbin-Leahy Intermediate Unit, the Corbin County Board of Education, or Board of Trustees, and LCTI for your perusal. At this point, I will recognize guests. Mr. Link, will you advise me here?
Yes, we will begin with the in-person guests that would like to speak on non-agenda items. The first one being, again, Mrs. Natalie Snyder.
This has to do with Governor Wolf's reporting today, and I just want to ask the board to please make sure that when we are considering what we are doing with the masking and removal of it, if that so be, if the situation, that we take into consideration if recommendations are that masks must be worn for people who are unvaccinated, that you guys consider not doing that to people, because it would be considered discrimination against people. So I just want to say that in whatever guidance Governor Wolf comes out with and his mandating of vaccines and all this stuff, I mean, as we know, there are some vaccines that are being mandated, but they're not truly mandated. You can get religious exemptions for these things. I just want to make it clear that people should have that right to be able to have a religious or philosophical exemption from wearing a mask or a vaccine or receiving a vaccine.
Thank you.
Next, sir, would be, again, Mr. Chad Chrisman.
Evening again, how y'all doing?
Good evening, sir.
Again, I'll just touch, I won't beat a dead horse. I think you guys already know my stance on that. Just to reiterate, January 17th, tentative date to relax masking. I would like to encourage the current board to reconsider your vote. And again, this is nothing personal to you, Mr. Link, to take back control of our health and safety plan. And instead of having one person in control of the entire operation of what changes do or do not happen. Again, it's nothing personal. Even if it was myself, it's just a tremendous burden to put on one person. I think it's almost reckless to have one person in control of that. It would be nice to have a nice checks and balance system to make sure we have multiple people with multiple different views, to make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. What has me a little nervous is hoping that I'm wrong on this, but it sure looks like the writing is on the wall for next year for Tom Wolf to mandate vaccinations for all students in schools. I hope I'm wrong on that. I'm just making assumptions. If that does happen, I understand this year there has been a tremendous increase in the amount of students that are doing charter schools, and I understand there's communication about charter reform, which I admit needs to happen. If those mandates go into effect, I sure hope you guys are prepared for more people to be enrolled in charter schools, because that will happen. The other thing I have a little bit of a concern of is, actually I believe, Ms. Husak, you touched on it last time. We have an excess of a lot of ESSER funds that are going to a lot of positive things. I'm very thankful for that. My concern is what happens when those funds are expunged at the same time or similar time that the LCTI bond is due. It seems like, I sure hope we have some planning in place to make sure we are funded appropriately without a massive tax increase that's gonna really jeopardize all our residents, especially our seniors. Also, it's been a little bit. Mr. Green, I want to thank you for your input earlier. I enjoyed your education on the economics and taxes on that. That was good information to know. Thank you. Now, I just want to know, I know we can play the if and the coulda, shoulda, wouldas all night long till midnight. I just really hope that we're being careful here with these mandates and these vaccinations, following these orders. And in a couple years from now, again, hopefully I'm wrong, if there's ever any medical issues that come from these vaccinations that become mandatory starting here locally, who's responsible for those future lawsuits? You know, there could be some pretty significant pending problems. Other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Christmas. Next, sir.
Mr. Eric King.
My issue was addressed, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
King.
you, Mr. King.
Mr. Jason Farringer.
Good evening, school board. My name is Jason Farringer. I currently reside at 7036 Birchwood Drive, Slatington, PA. I'm a little bit emotional about the subject as it pertains directly to my son Jackson. And I'm just going to try my best to read off of this, so I apologize if I'm not making eye contact. I'm not trying to be rude, and my time is short. First thing I wanted to go over tonight was the time limit that's placed on parents who wish to address the board. I fully understand the need to keep these meetings moving. I have also been to my fair share of them, both in person and virtually. On average, there's not a whole lot of parents that choose to speak. 5 or 6 in any given evening. That's really not a lot of time. I also feel that the constant reminders of our allotted time left is unneeded and at times comes across as rude and condescending. I would think that the board would want to hear from the community. Feedback is a good thing. Constructive criticism is a good thing. Listening to the parents of the districts, the ones you represent, allows you insight into what our issues are. Not everyone can find childcare to attend these meetings. Not everyone can get out of work on time either. My boss was nice enough to let me out early tonight so that I could be here to meet the time frames to sign up to speak in person. There are also a lot of people who are uncomfortable speaking publicly, myself included. I'm sure that the issues and concerns brought forth by the relatively few that attend are shared by many other parents in the community. Listening to us gives you a chance to check the collective temperature of the parents in this district. 5 minutes is just not enough time in certain circumstances. My next topic of discussion is what really drove me to be here, and that's the bullying repeatedly of my son Jackson. We've had multiple incidents on his bus and in the classroom. The first incident was on the bus where a kid hurled homophobic and racist slurs at him that I will not repeat in this building. My son did nothing wrong, and his accounting of the events were corroborated by his peers and the bus driver, as well as the principal. The offending child was given an assigned seat on the bus. About a week later, the same child, again unprovoked, left his assigned seat, walked to the back of the bus where my son was, and told him that when he got off the bus that day, he was going to punch him in the face. That kid did exactly what he said he was going to do. Bus stopped, walked to the back, and struck my son in the face 2 times. My son's story was again corroborated by his peers, those on the bus. Again, he did nothing wrong. I'm sorry, I get a little emotional there. So at that point, as a father, my patience has been exhausted. Once Jackson was back at school after a very long corona quarantine, this same kid, along with a few other kids in Jackson's class, in the classroom this time, decided to call him gay and say that he likes boys. That day, on his way home from the bus, the same kid that we've now had 3 instances with, his sister called my son gay on the bus. Now that's 4 times in a very short school year. 4 times. every single time that this has happened. The Slatington principal, I must say, has done a phenomenal job. I'm asking politely for my extended time. If you choose not to give it to me, you may collectively do that. I don't have much more to say.
And it looks like you and I believe your wife have both signed up, so you can cede time to each other.
Mine's short.
Yeah.
Mine's short,
Thank
go,
you.
Jay, go.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So that was corroborated again by multiple classmates. The very next week, one of the same kids called him gay, again, in class. In all of these instances, my son has somehow managed not to name call back or get physical with any of the other children. He is aware that if he were to defend himself, he would be in just as much trouble as all the other kids that are bullying him. I personally find that policy to be incredibly dangerous. You would collectively have me teach my child that he's not allowed to defend himself when being physically and verbally assaulted, and I take issue with that. Your policy in regards to bullying, in my very humble opinion, has been an abject failure. You allowed the same kid to sit on the same bus and in the same class as my son after multiple incidents. How do you think that must feel for him at 8 years old? To know that a kid who has insulted him, punched him in the face, is allowed to sit in the same room. You're normalizing that behavior. All the while, my kid who's done nothing wrong has to sit there and take it. Think about that for a minute, please. What would you tell your own children if they were in this situation, and what would you do as parents? My wife and I have tried to teach our children that violence is not the answer to one's problems. We try to teach them the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. It's a very simple thing to understand. And thankfully, my son's been listening. But there comes a point where enough is enough, and I am far past that point. I was raised to handle a bully in an entirely different way. I understand that was a different time, and it's an entirely different world we now live in. I am not naive to that. I just feel that your policy and the way you choose to handle things creates a victim mentality. And I am not okay raising a victim. I just want to make that very clear. My son is intelligent beyond his years, emotionally and scholastically. They are very formative years for him, and I do not think that the messages being sent by the district's policies are good for him now or in the long run. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Farringer, we still have some time. Would you like to address the board?
I'm gonna have somebody speak on my behalf due to a vocal cord disorder, so he's gonna read my letter. I wrote that. He's just using this one.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm speaking on behalf of Tamara Farringer. To support Jason Farringer's comments, I would like to share with you some statistics on bullying. According to the National Center for Educational Statistics report in 2019, 20.2% of students report being bullied. And that same report, 41% of students who reported being bullied at school indicated that they think the bullying would happen again. According to a McAllen and Feeder 2013 report, school-based bullying prevention programs decrease bullying by up to 25%. 46% of bullied students report notifying an adult at school about the incident. So according to the CDC's 2019 report, students who experience bullying are at an increased risk for depression, anxiety, sleep difficulties, lower academic achievement, and dropping out of school. Students who experience bullying are twice as likely as non-bullied peers to experience negative health effects such as headaches and stomach aches. Students who report being frequently bullied are at increased risk for suicide-related behavior according to the CDC's 2014 report. Bullied students indicate that bullying has created a negative effect on how they feel about themselves, their relationships with friends and family, their schoolwork, and their physical health. Again, the National Center for Educational Statistics. As you've already heard from Jason's speech, our son has been continually bullied this year, both on the school bus and in the classroom. Let me remind you that Jackson has only been in school for approximately 5 weeks this year, thanks to an unnecessary extended quarantine, which kept him out of school for multiple weeks. He attended a charter school last year and is considering returning for multiple reasons. Unfortunately, our son has had an unwelcoming experience in the short time he has been at Slatington Elementary. Racial epithets and homophobic slurs are unacceptable. All of these incidents were unprovoked as proven by the school investigation. So one question that she wanted to ask is, can we please confirm that the audio and video is currently working on all transportation vehicles? Would anybody on the board be able to answer that question at this point in time? And if not at this moment in time, would they be able to provide that answer to Mrs. Farringer?
Would you like me to answer that, sir?
Sure.
I would like the board to answer that. Thank you, sir. No offense to you. I would like the board to answer that. These are your stakeholders. These are your constituents. These are the people that vote for you. Can somebody on the board please provide an answer regarding the audio and video equipment on the transportation that the school provides?
From the board, I will say that we assume, and I use that very carefully, because I know what it means to assume, that we do have that in place. If it is not in place, it is certainly not anything that the board is aware of.
Who is responsible to ensure the safety and quality of these video footage and quality on the transportation? Because I've contacted the transportation department, no response to multiple emails. So who's monitoring the QA of those security measures? We don't know, we don't QA?
But, I mean, at this point, I would hope that, again, that the contractor of our school buses are aware of the rules and regulations and whatever is established through policy is following that. I can only, again, I apologize for the term assume, I can only assume that.
So reach out to the transportation company that we're contracted with to confirm that.
Cameras are provided, monitored, and serviced in conjunction between Brandywine Transportation Company and the Northern Lehigh School District. It's a joint effort.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mrs. Farringer.
So this leads me into the lack of anti-bullying education across the district that has been confirmed in person by Dr. Stoker, Mr. Hauser, and Mr. Stroll. As many of you are aware, there are a ton of anti-bullying, resiliency, and social-emotional learning opportunities available for the district. I attended the parent engagement meeting for the elementary and middle schools last month and was taken aback by the lack of any programs, activities, or events for students and staff regarding these topics. As you recall, districts that have these programs in place have 25% less bullying that occurs. Unity Day was just a few weeks ago and our district did nothing. Can anyone explain why Northern Lehigh, who reports a great increase in bullying this school year alone, has not developed a solid program to address these issues? Can the board answer, is there an anti-bullying program that is in place?
I believe we have policies and such in place and that has been approved by the board, yes.
Education for the youth and the staff on how to manage bullying in the schools. That's what I mean by bullying program.
So I'll look to the board if they want this to be a Q&A at this time, or if they want it to just be a comment. I can assure you that all schools have positive behavior intervention and support programs actively being implemented in each building.
I would prefer it not being Q&A only because we may not have the proper answers at this time, and I don't want to get into a debate whether until we have all those answers. So if we could take the questions and address it at the board level sometime.
Sure. And I think it would be appropriate if administration maybe gave a presentation on anti-bullying practices within Northern Lehigh School District that are currently in place.
I think that would be great, thank you.
Sir, I'm going to remind you that we're down to about 3:40 now. I combined the 15 minutes for the three of you.
Okay. Can we explain why the only response to, and the board will have an answer to this, so I apologize, this will be my last question. Can we explain why the only response to our ongoing emails is from Mr. Briner? None of the emails since the first incident of bullying has been communicated have been addressed or acknowledged by the administration, school board members, the transportation department, or others. A simple email acknowledging that a parent is struggling with some bullying by the school board, I think would go a long way, and I don't think that's a lot to ask. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you letting me speak.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
That concludes in-person public comment this evening. We have 2 online submittals for public comment.
Madam Secretary?
The first one was received today, Monday, November 8th at 12:57 p.m. by Pauline Grady. Good evening. I hope this email finds you all well. I have a few questions in regards to tonight's agenda. My first question is regarding the conferences that are being attended at Hershey Lodge. In the past, as per meeting minutes, those who attended did not stay at Hershey Lodge, instead stayed at a cheaper hotel within the Hershey area. If we are trying to be fiscally responsible, why is lodging being approved at Hershey Lodge? This is a premier resort that is incredibly expensive. There are cheaper options within miles of the lodge. Why has the district decided to put forth the money for such expensive lodging? Also, it is my understanding that these conferences can be attended virtually. Again, in the name of being fiscally responsible, why are those who registered not attending virtually? My next question would be in regards to the money set aside for water bottles for the student body. These water bottles were budgeted into the ESSER funds, yet here we are 3 months into school without the purchase of said water bottles. I noticed on the agenda tonight someone donated $200 for water bottles. Why did we accept a donation for water bottles when this is something that is already budgeted in the school year? My last question, but by far the most important in this email, is in regards to the food service program and the food that is currently being served to the student body. Domino's and Subway has been a constant go-to lunch for several weeks now. When they aren't being served Domino's and Subway, the food served is subpar, barely edible. Prisoners get fed better than the kids at our school, and that is far from a joke. You recently approved the hiring of a new food service director for the district with a salary of around $68,000. I would hope that the disaster that currently is our food program will be at the top of the list of things to work on. We put together a health and safety plan for COVID with one current student currently ill with the virus. Perhaps we should put together a plan for the food service department and attack the problem with some vigor we do for COVID. Maybe we'll be able to get some well-rounded, healthy meals in the school for the kids. Thank you for your time. Respectfully yours, Pauline Grady. The second email.
Would the board like any response to any of those questions?
Any board member want any response to that?
I thought Mr. Link was going to address at least the food service question.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yes, please.
Thank you. In response to the question about conferences, we have historically approved lodging at the site of the conference unless lodging is full at that site. We did a look back to 2014. In that case, when the site is full, we use other recommended sites afforded by conference organizations, which run shuttles to the alternate site to the site of the location. That has been our practice since 2014. That's when we stopped looking back. As far as virtual conferences, I will look to the board if that's the direction that they want to go. As far as the second question, we accepted, as noted earlier, we accepted the donation because we were contacted by someone who wished to remain anonymous but has specifically earmarked the money for water bottles. We are working with a vendor that has provided the best quote of the money that we have within the dollars allotted with an ESSER for the purchase of water bottles. So when an anonymous donor contacted us and said they wanted to go towards water bottles, we accepted it. As far as the food services, just for some accuracy here, we have served Subway only once since the start of the school year. During that time, we've been making homemade soups to go with it. But since the initial Subway offering, we have changed it to make our own sandwiches in-house, and we are sourcing those products from local providers to make those sandwiches. Pizza we are getting from Domino's because the manufacturers have not had it available. So the people that provide it to our suppliers have not been able to supply it in the bulk that we need. This is a common barrier for school districts across the country right now. Reasons for Domino's and current changes regarding our weekly menu are because the manufacturers are not producing enough for the demand due to staffing issues. Vendors can't get truck drivers to get the product from the supplier to our kitchens. We've been down as far as 8 and currently down 6 positions in our food services department. There are staffing issues, not only in Northern Lehigh District, but in all school districts and many employers regionally, at the state level, and across the nation. Our grocery vendor broke the contract for this school year the day after our first delivery was to arrive. The other vendor, US Foods, announced that they would no longer deliver. We had to drop back and we had to drop back and figure out what we were going to do. They followed the provisions within those contracts to give us enough notice to say that they were opting out of the contracts. They are doing it because they don't have the personnel to produce the product or the personnel to get the product to us. We had to figure out how to get food for our children, and we had to become very creative in doing so. As far as the comments about food is, barely edible, that's very subjective, and I fully disagree with that. Our food services department does a phenomenal job with the resources and the staffing that they have available and the product that they have available. In fact, our breakfast and lunch participation has been higher this year than in any other year looking back for 12 years. Our participation rates are 70 to 80% in all buildings. For lunch, usually we would serve about 30 to 40 breakfasts. We're now serving nearly 200 at the high school. That's just the high school. The feedback from the students is that they appreciate and they like the options that they have available. And that concludes my remarks.
Any questions, board?
No, I'd just like to say, we know Mrs. Vaughn has informed us of the difficulties from the suppliers, and I know she has personally, gone and got items that we need to serve our students, and I think she should be commended for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Thank you. I'd like to say also that, the vendor thing is an issue not only with schools, with anyone. And the food particularly, we are not getting the food that we had gotten. Our vendors are not there anymore. They're not doing the supplying. I compliment our current director for doing all she has done to make sure that we did have enough food to feed our children. But I also want to remind everyone that this is the same director who also, through the entire time of COVID, served meals to all of our students, even those when we were not in school and had to do pickup. We tried to make sure that we gave a quality lunch to all kids, all children. And I really need to say that I feel that we are doing that, and I compliment particularly our food staff. Okay, any other?
We have one other
We have another
online submission.
We do. Would like to make a comment on the conferences in particular. The same reason that we all sit here and say we want the schools open is the same reason why I think it's super important that our staff, administration, teachers, district personnel are going out and attending these conferences. It's education for our administrators. It's education for those people to come back to our district and make us bigger and better. Yes, Hershey Lodge might be expensive, but that is part of our district budget. It's part of things that make us better as a district. The idea is not to go out every week and do this, but there are specific conferences out there that I think is really important for our staff and administration to go to talk with other professionals in the same areas and the same information to come back and to make us better. So not that I want to see us go to every conference if it means nothing to us, but I think it's super important that we as an administration allow our administration, our teachers, our staff to go get education. We want them to come back and be better than what they are today. So I have no problem approving conferences and conferences in person for the same reason that we want our students in our buildings learning, because we're going to learn better doing that.
Amen.
So that's what I have on conferences.
Okay, thank you.
Now I'll be glad to read
All right,
the
go ahead.
second
Go ahead.
email. This email was received Monday, November 8th at 4:03 p.m. by Justin Jackowitz. Mr. Link, below are my comments for the school board meeting tonight. It is still absurd that no exemptions will be made to not wear a mask during the meeting. I will be contacting the Pennsylvania State Police and Slatington Police Department to assure that no action can be taken from the school, as I am not violating a law of any kind and am simply trying to express my grievances to the school board as part of my First Amendment rights. Justin Jackowitz, 6465 Woodbury Drive, Slatington, Pennsylvania, 18080. At the October school board meeting, several board members questioned my right to know request and strangely asked what a right to know request was and how much it cost to the school district. I would think as a board member, many being on the board for several years, these individuals would have working knowledge and understanding of Pennsylvania law. It was embarrassing and awkward to watch, and I hope the other board members help educate and inform these people of the rights and responsibilities of schools and other public entities and the type of information they are required to provide to the public as part of the Sunshine Law. School directors or administrators do not get to do whatever they want without the public being able to request records to provide oversight. I asked for all of my copies to be electronic at no cost to the district, other than the time needed to fulfill the request, which again is part of the district's responsibility to taxpayers. The Northern Lehigh community has made a statement with over 3,000 write-in votes that they are concerned and unhappy with the current board of directors. There is a lack of engagement and understanding of how parents feel and want their school to be run. It was also sad to see two campaigning school board directors take to social media and negatively speak and present false information about the write-in candidates and trying to bully community members and defaming character for wanting to get involved with decisions being made within our schools. This movement is much more than mask mandates. It is about having a school board that listens to and makes decisions based on what is best for the community and not themselves. I will ask the current board to put in motion this evening to reassert their power as a Democratic committee and remove the autonomy Mr. Link has over the health and safety plan. Our board of directors should be voting on any and all updates to the health and safety plan. As local districts like Jim Thorpe move to remove quarantine for students, our board is steadfast in removing themselves from the decision-making process. Northern Lehigh School District is in a clear violation of Pennsylvania school code by illegally quarantining healthy children. This community needs leaders and not followers, as we have seen through the COVID-19 pandemic. Since our health and safety plan is requiring masks, I am requesting to have studies done from St. Luke's Health Network and Lehigh Valley Health Network to show the efficacy of wearing mask wearing in our specific district. Otherwise, Mr. Link and the board are blindly following contradictory studies and data without due diligence to actually prove that the policies in place are actually working. I was referred by Mr. Link to the FAQ sheet, which provided links to the CDC website for studies about mask wearing, but still have not been provided any studies that directly show masks work. Can any board member please respond to me directly with the specific studies that show masks prevent the spread of COVID-19? I would also encourage you all to review the studies actually posted on the CDC website. If you have not already, they are far from definitive. Please confirm receipt of this email and that it will be read at the meeting this evening. Justin Jackowitz.
Thank you, and duly noted in the minutes that that letter has been received and read at this meeting this evening. Is there anything else, Mr. Lake?
Yeah, I'd like to respond, Mr. Fedorcha. I'm reading those comments about taking Mr. Link as our sole proprietor or our leader in the health and safety plan. So when Governor Wolf makes his announcement that says that we could remove masks on the 17th of January, I guess then we should wait till the February school board meeting to approve that, which would then really extend the time periods kids have to wear masks in school by approximately 2 to 3 weeks. We are in constant communication with Mr. Link. Mr. Link is in constant communication with us regarding the health and safety plan. It is by no means a one-man show. We are in constant contact. We know exactly what's going on with the mandates that have been put on this board by our governor. Whether you believe in that or not, it's the truth. In fact, our autonomy as far as getting sued by the community is in jeopardy if we don't follow the mandate. I encourage all of you to run for the board. Sit here, don't follow the law, and something happens, and the public then sues you personally. You're going to give up your house because you're not going to listen to a mandate that was given by the governor. I'm a little tired of listening to this mask mandate. Nobody likes it. I'd be the first one to tell you, I hate this thing. I can't stand it. But it's what we're told to do by law in Pennsylvania, and we're going to well follow it. As far as
Excuse me, please.
Mr. Link,
Excuse me, please.
as far as Mr. Link being responsible, I fully support his professionalism and the communication he provides. Thank you.
I'd like to use the remaining time of my 5 minutes to rebuttal that.
That's not, Mr. Crispin, that public comment has been closed. And you've had your opportunity to do it. I'll look
Right,
to our
correct.
solicitor, but we are following our policy, sir. So I'll
again,
look to our
we're-
solicitor.
Following the policy, you open it up.
Pardon?
Setting a precedent.
We're, okay. Okay, I want to,
Where's my public comment?
He didn't get called to speak and he did sign up.
what's this?
Ty, he has a written speech.
That was part of the group.
Oh, my goodness. Ty, I apologize. You are listed. Board, I recommend that we allow Ty have time. He did
Certainly.
sign up.
Ty,
and
please.
yes, that he be allowed to speak.
Hope you are doing all well tonight. As a small voice of the student body, I'd like to personally thank all the parents for organizing our homecoming dance after the all too short notice we were given that it was canceled. These community members banded together in 4 hours to organize a Plan B to something that the school put no forethought into creating an alternative option. This event was made possible by many disgruntled parents and through the donations of countless Northern Lehigh businesses. I'd like to extend a thank you to all Northern Lehigh businesses, parents, and community members who are stepping up and becoming a voice for many years to come of the incompetence of the Northern Lehigh School District. Thank you.
Ty, I would just like to correct one part of it. Certainly, it was unfortunate that it rained and the weather was the way it was, and we had to not cancel it. We postponed it. I believe that also was said at a prior meeting or at some point, Mr. Link.
Sure,
We only postponed it.
The initial message did go out as a cancellation. That was a miscommunication. It is actively being planned for a spring spirit week, homecoming dance, and pep rally.
Yeah, but my problem with that is it was communicated to the student body as a cancellation after basically most of the student body have already bought stuff for homecoming and were prepared for that.
Yes.
I understand. Thank you,
Ty,
sir.
what's your last name?
Moffett,
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
thank you.
That was everyone that was listed.
Okay. All right, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Our next meeting is December 6th. It is the first Monday of the month because of the law that states that all school boards need to reorganize in the first week in December. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:45. Thank you very much for coming out. I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and stay safe and well, please.
Yep.